What's going on? Today we are looking at everything that you need to know to be able to tap. Okay, the way that I've structured this video is that we start with the most simple, basic concepts that you need to bring through to be able to tap the most complicated things. And I'm in E standard. You can try and follow along, but I've got no tabs in this video because it's much more about the concepts and your experimentation and what you listen to and what you enjoy than it is about following exactly what I do. So take the ideas and apply them to your own music. And for an example of what stage you can get to very easily with tapping this is a Steve Vai song called Building the Church. Very simple to do, and as soon as you've unlocked being able to play that, then you realize that tapping is just an extension. Effectively, all you're doing with tapping is just adding in an extra finger or two or three or four on top of whatever you're using this hand for. This was a question that has been asked by emailing me and been left in the comments of one of my videos. If you've got a question about anything, please ask it. If I can't answer it in the comments, I will make a video about it. And of course, if you learn something in this video, please give it a like, even if it's something small. I find that the most important things to be learning are just the tiny things. If you improve just 1% in your playing by watching this video, then that's massive value. Over the long term, you do that every single day. In a year, you've got well over 300% of improvements. So with that in mind, let's get into it. The way that I like to think about tapping is that it is essentially a hammer-on, except you're using this hand to make that hammer-on. Or if you're left-handed, you're using this hand, but whatever. If you're new to guitar or you've never done any tapping or anything like that, the first thing that you want to do is actually really crank up the distortion, because you want any little note to come through and tell you if you're getting it right or wrong, right? So for that reason, crank on your distortion and have a poke around. Aim for, at first, between the 9th and the 15th fret. Much higher than that, and it starts getting a little more difficult to make the notes sound. Much lower than that, and well, I guess it's just as easy. I do recommend with all of these exercises, hold your pick while you do it. Unless you don't play with a pick. If you don't have your pick while you're learning to tap and then you pick up your pick, you're gonna have to change your techniques. So just hold on to it while you're doing it. Now first, all we're doing is we're just holding on to the strings so they're nice and dead. All right, we've got our distortion going, all's good. All I want you to do is poke around. Right, same with normal fretting of guitar. Poke around and see if you can find a melody. Have some fun with that. Now that you're comfortable with that and you're making the right sounds, what we actually want to do pretty much straight away is turn off the distortion. Because if we've got the distortion, it's covering up our mistakes and we're not improving. If we take away the distortion, we've got a very clear, exact idea as to what's going on, how we're sounding. I've still got just a touch of distortion on there, nothing serious, but just go as clean as you like, as clean as you can. Just have another poke around and see if you can play the same melodies, see if they sound right, or if you have to adjust things as you go. Right? If you're sounding good, then what you want to do is start incorporating it with your other hand. Just pick one note. I've gone for the 9th fret on the G string. First hammer on, and then tap. Are they the same volume? Do they sound pretty much the same? If they don't, if your tapping finger is way quieter or way heavier, you just want to try and make them as even as possible. Because if they're even, then when you have these big crazy runs, it's going to sound like one continuous idea rather than note, 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 bam, something happened, and then back to note, 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 okay? Make it even, make it consistent. We're going to hold the 9th fret on the G string there, and we're going to hammer on to the 12th. And then we're going to add in the finger and swap between them. Right? Once again, the goal is to make it consistent, to make it smooth, to make it even. Okay, if we don't have that smoothness, then it's not going to sound good when we speed up and when we try harder things. Now that we've got that established, we want to work on the different patterns that we come across with tapping. I'm just going to count the numbers 1, 2, 3. Doesn't matter what the notes are, it just means in the progression, it's like first finger, second finger, tap, right? That's the order. So we've got 1, 2, 3. We've got 3, 2, 1. Any other version of that, like 2, 3, 1, is still 1, 2, 3 because you roll it over. It's just same thing. Same as going backwards. If it's 2, 1, 3, still converts to 3-2-1. Next is 2-1-3-1, which is the same as 3-1-2-1. Next one is 3-2-1-3-1-2. So this is going down and then up, but in a different version. So down, they are the most common permutations of tapping that you're going to find. Most people fall within that. If they're not, it's because you're learning something super specific, but you get the idea. All it is a case of practicing the little idea and expanding it out to whatever you're learning. That is really about 80% of tapping done. What I recommend you learn now is Eruption by Van Halen. Etc. Everyone's heard it a million times. That song will get you a good idea on how it's done for a long time, and effectively all he's doing is playing through different chords. Okay, I recommend that you make your own version of Eruption. Just do something, find a scale and work through that scale on one string. So let's say we've got E minor here, just starting from the 5th, 3rd and 4th, up to the next one. Next, 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 next. Pick E harmonic minor or pick any other thing that you want to and just experiment with it. Get used to doing these types of things. When you're trying to learn multiple positions of the one scale, tap into the next position. So say we've got pentatonic, right, which is just a normal minor pentatonic, but we're trying to get familiar with the next position. Same notes, just starting from the next one up. A really good exercise is just to tap up to the next note. And then go back down. That way you're covering 2 spaces of the pentatonic in one run. Maybe you want to skip one. Really, the options are endless. Just play around with it. Now, the next bit of advice I want to give is put in another finger, right? Steve Vai chooses to use these 2 fingers because they're both free and it doesn't actually affect where his picking hand goes. So if you think about that, you go through all the same exercises with the ring finger, right? But that leaves you to be able to do more interesting things with your tapping. And really, the creativity is up to you. You can do whatever you want. So let's say you want to do something fancy. You do the same fret, but you just do alternating fingers. Right? It is a little bit less accurate at first, but if you get that up to speed, then you're able to do more interesting things with it. Same with sliding. Just do it clean and make sure that you're getting it done. So I've just turned on my distortion so I can sound like a super shredder for the final 2 tips, because the effects are lost on them if you do it clean. Doesn't mean don't practice it clean. What it means is that this sounds a lot better when it's distorted. So let's say you're got some arpeggio that you're doing, right? And you want to figure out what the best notes to tap up to are. Honestly, it's just the scale. If you want to go one step further, tap the notes in the chord. So an arpeggio is just the chord, 1st, the 3rd and the 5th notes of the scale. So tap on those. And if you don't want, you don't need to roll back down the arpeggio. It's just a case of experimentation. When you get bored of that, put in your second finger. Find songs that are complicated. The one that I played at the start is a really good one. Even though I mentioned Steve Vai specifically using these 2 fingers because he doesn't have to put down his pick, the example that I played was in one where you have to put down the pick so that you can play it. That's just the thing, is that's what Steve Vai wanted to explore. That's what he enjoyed doing. Find a song that you want to explore, play around with it, make it more complicated. Do 2 finger tapping when you don't need to. Do whatever. Just experiment. And the final part that I want to mention in this tutorial is if you want to do 4 finger tapping, it is really complicated and very awkward. Go slow. I've spoken about this exercise a couple of times on this channel. It's just a basic chromatic. It's literally just 3, 4, 5, 6, 3, 4, 5, 6 on every single string all the way up the neck. What you want to do if you're practicing tapping this is you keep it easy until it gets boring and then you move up to the next thing. What I recommend you to start with is tap from an octave higher. Go from the 18th fret to the 6th, 17th fret to the 5th, 16th fret to the 4th, and 15th fret to the 3rd. But you see, it's not something that I practice, that's why it's messy. Anyway, if you got something out of this, as I mentioned at the start, please give it a like. Got any questions, please leave a comment. And of course, subscribe if you already haven't. I will be here next week with some more ramblings about music, and I look forward to seeing you then. Goodbye.